You are listening to the SwansCast Extra, the number one Sydney Swans fans weekend preview podcast.
On field, and the two ruckmen are dominating.
Crowd really sensing this danger that the Swans are in. Enter Buddy Franklin onto the scene. He delays the give. Franklin, this is Buddy Franklin! This is the greatest showman! This is him!
With me tonight is passionate Swans fan Penny Jackson. In this week's episode, we will preview the Swans Round 22 match against the Giants in Sydney Derby 15 on Saturday afternoon at Spotless Stadium. We will discuss the selections, what we are looking forward to, matchups and key points, and give the weekend forecast. So, Penny, this is your second podcast now with me.
Hey.
Are you excited?
Hey, I made it back.
Made it back, yeah.
I would just like to say this podcast is sponsored by the Rampy robe, which I am currently wearing, and it is very awesome. So get on it and get one.
Yes, I 100% agree. The Rampy robe is unbelievable. It is very warm, very cozy, and very comfortable. It is well worth whatever it costs to buy.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. Thanks, Rampy. So the Swans, they had a pretty big win on the weekend. Melbourne actually hasn't beaten a team in the top 8. And one of the two players who were probably one of the best to field on that day is Aliir. He's had a pretty amazing season so far.
He has. I mean, I was reading your article about him.
Well, thank you.
You made me. No, it was... We saw he had a breakout year in 2016, and then he kind of just went off the radar last year and a bit this year. And, you know, I know you talked about on your podcast how he should come back in, and then he came in for the Bulldogs game and did a few good things and did some not so good things. And then he just kind of recovered some form in the kneeful, and then he came back and, wow, he's... Like the West Coast game, he just took all these great intercept marks, and then he kept going from strength to strength. And thank God we re-signed him, because we were actually going to probably lose him if...
Yeah, it did look like he was in football wilderness at one point. It seriously looked like he might even leave the club because he wasn't getting any games. He was in and out of the team, and it really looked like he might even go up for trade or just request to be traded. So it was a massive win for the club to re-sign him. But the way he's played, his stats are elite. So there was some information that came out, or some statistics, since he came back in around 13. He is basically the most elite defender that there is in the competition at the moment. I am just pulling up those stats right now. Usually I have these prepared, but for those who know me, I occasionally gush about Aliir all the time.
Yes, I have heard that.
Yes.
It's been known to me from friends.
But essentially, since round 13, he's leading the league for intercept marks at 35, and he's equal top for intercept possessions with the one and only Jeremy McGovern. Now, obviously, Jeremy McGovern kicked that match-winning goal against Port Adelaide on the weekend, an absolute shank of a kick. His coach, Adam Simpson, described it as a flower bag.
Oh, it sailed through. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it was a wobbler.
Did you see how Plugger kicked his 1300th? Did you see how Plugger kicked his 1300th goal? I mean, that exactly wasn't the best goal either, but hey, it went through.
Yeah, he got that point as well against Essendon back in 96, and anything would do it back in those days with a dodgy hamstring. And look, he has been amazing. I went back, had a look over his stats for the whole season through the AFL app. So for those who are Telstra customers with the AFL app, you can get some premium information. His 2018 season is far and away better than his 2016 season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's averaging more possessions, more intercept possessions, more marks, more fantasy points, more everything. The only category he was down in, I think, was average tackles per game.
Okay. He looks like he's quite strong in intercept marking. He's still... From what I've seen, and, you know, I'm not exactly a football, you know, genius with this stuff, but he's not that crash hot when he's got a player on the lead. They kind of beat him. Yeah,
that was something that happened, I think, back in 2016 quite a lot. He hasn't... It was the one thing I noticed against Melbourne. I wonder if you noticed it as well. I mean, we're both at the ground. But he wasn't really beaten that much one-on-one, was he?
No, he wasn't.
And that was one of the big sort of bugbears, I guess you could say, early in his career, was the fact, and North Melbourne, I said this also in the article, North Melbourne in round 22, 2016, exploited his, I guess, naivety and lack of experience with the way that they actually rotated Jared Waite, Ben Brown, and Mad Jack Dore on him. And there was one particular moment in the second quarter in Tasmania where he was literally just standing in the middle of the defensive 50, not knowing what to do.
Tasmania, honey?
Tasmania. I think it was in Hobart or Launceston.
No, we played them at Etihad.
Was it Etihad?
Yes.
Oh, I got my venues mixed up. That doesn't matter. This is 2016, though.
Oh, well.
Yes, that was the one in Tasmania. We played him at SCG early. But anyway, he actually had a good game when we played him early in the year. But it was quite amazing. And then he came out in the second half, and he played like a man on a mission. He actually had a pretty good game.
He's a few years behind Mad Jack Dore, isn't he? So we've seen how well Mad Jack Dore, has come in leaps and bounds. So hopefully the same thing will happen for Aaliyah.
Yeah, I think they are roughly about the same age, but obviously Mad Jack Dore's been in the system for a couple more years longer than Aaliyah, and he's racked up about 50 or 60 games.
Aaliyah got injured, didn't he, early on? I think he missed a fair chunk of the season. Did he do his shoulder from memory, or am I just making things up?
No, that was Dan Robinson. Aaliyah had the knee injury from 2016.
Oh.
And then he had turf toe when he came back at the end of pre-season 2017.
Yeah, naughty boy.
Naughty boy, yeah. And he's been plagued with injuries ever since, and he struggled for form and fitness in the NEAFL. And Tom Harley came out and said, also Reece Shaw came out and said that he finally got it through his head a couple of months ago, what he needed to do to become a AFL level footballer. And ever since, I mean, you can just see how he plays. But are you enjoying Aaliyah these days, Penny?
I am. I think he's got a good spark. I think people like to see his, how do I put it?
Spunk? On that field.
Ooh, you know what I'm saying. He's like, I'm going to refer this to Gail Monfils of tennis. They like to see him for his theatrics, like his intercept marking. He's one of those players that you enjoy watching when he does good stuff, I guess.
Yeah, he is. He's been a terrific player for the Swans and really an important player in defence ever since he's come back. I think he's done really well to offset the loss of pretty much everyone in the defence. Grundy, Malikan, and now unfortunately Johnson. So look, fingers crossed he plays the whole season. I would say in the grand final 2016, his absence was sorely missed and very keenly felt.
Definitely it was. I actually saw him at the grand final 2016.
We did at the Turnstiles.
He did.
He was right in front of us going into the ground, so it was a bit funny. Only one person recognised him, and we're looking at each other going, is that Aaliyah? Oh, geez, this too. He's not a big boy. He's tall, but very thin and athletic, so he's a good guy. Wish him all the best, and hopefully stays in the team. Now, team selections, Penny. I guess a little surprised, but not too much of a surprise.
I was surprised at Robinson. I thought O'Riordan would have come in.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So the changes are Nick Smith is out with a hamstring. Obviously, that's a hamstring tendon injury. He's out for about 6 weeks. And Alex Johnson, he's out with a knee injury, so he's out for the season. Hopefully, he comes back at some point next year. Hopefully, he stays still with the club next year. But the ins are Zach Jones. He was always going to come in. And Dan Robinson, who comes in for midfield depth. It's a bit of an interesting selection. But I suppose if you have a look at the Giants team, they haven't got a particularly tall forward line. They're missing Patton, and they don't have a backup ruck, so it's Sinclair and Lobb going head-to-head.
Well, whatever we did last week seemed to work, and maybe Longmire's looking for speed, and Cunningham and Heaney did well, so maybe if they push Heaney to the back line, maybe Robinson's going to fill Heaney's position. So,
do you think he could become a permanent fixture in the back line, Heaney, at fullback?
Well, for what we saw that last quarter, definitely. He knows how to take a mark.
Knows how to beat his own opposition number easily too.
And we know he's a goal kicker, so we know he's quite accurate with his foot, so never know. Yeah,
he did really well, and he was him with Aaliyah. They were probably the two most important players in our wins. So yeah, it's I guess not too many selection shocks, but a lot of people. I put out the comment out there on Facebook today and also on Twitter. Asked people to see what they thought the team selections will be. A lot of comments about Heath Grundy. Like Ben Dunlop said, Jones and Grundy for Johnson Smith, obviously. Dan Hocking, he wanted Robbie Fox. Kath Stewart, Jones, Grundy, but not sure about O'Riordan. So there's a lot of comments. Obviously, Jones was a common element. Grundy was expected.
Grundy was expected, but yeah, he's got some things going on. I mean, and if he's not ready, then he's not ready. So
yeah,
Jones was always going to be the definite one. So
yeah, for sure. The other thing I think that might escape people's attention is Harry Marsh actually injured his hamstring in the NIAFL warm-up. So he's out until the finals. To add to Lewis Malikan, who's basically out for the season. Callum Mills is out for the season. Jack Mybom, who hasn't even debuted yet, out for the season. Grundy, indefinite. Johnson, out for the season, which is literally our entire key position depth. So all we've got after this week to pick from is Robbie Fox, who's more like a flanker, and O'Riordan, who's more like a flanker. We don't have anyone actually to back up our selections.
What about James Rose?
Not much of a defender, I'm afraid. He loves to run and get the ball. He's not much of a defender.
Yeah, well, Grundy will come back when he's ready to come back. I mean, we saw in 2015 when Franklin had his mental health issues and he never returned back, even when we made it into finals. So
yeah,
wishing Heath all the best, and I wish him, his wife, and their 2 kids all the best, and hopefully we see him at some point next year or whenever he is ready to come back. So
yeah, absolutely. There's no rush on it, no timeline. When he's ready, and wish him all the best. And hopefully we see him in red and white for a couple more times, at least for another season, because I think he deserves to go around again. And earlier this season, I think he proved his worth, just like Jab McVeigh.
Exactly.
I reckon Jab McVeigh could play till he's about 100 years old. The way he's going, he's like a fine wine or a great whiskey, just gets older with age.
We might have to, with no backline. We could have Old Man McVeigh and
Old Man Macca had a farm.
all the best to Heath. We met him at Players, what was it? I can't remember.
The Hawthorn match, the Saturday after Hawthorn match.
Yeah, and he was so lovely to talk to. So all the best.
He's a great guy. So look, wish him all the best. We want him back, but only when he's ready. Now, on to the preview of the match. So it is Sydney Derby XV in Roman numerals, which stands for 15. So
well done, Dave.
Well done. Thank you. I had a trivia night a couple of weeks ago where I had to guess what the Roman numerals were for some number, and I just...
You failed miserably.
No, I got that one right. 155 or something. I just said a bunch of random characters.
No, I got it, dear.
We both did.
No.
Thanks, Mrs. Blogs. So obviously the last 2 times the Swans have won, not by much, average winning margin, I think of about 14 points. But the last time they played was the Buddy Franklin last quarter show, really the last 5 minutes when he went bang.
I don't actually remember that because we had some friends over and I had way too much wine because I decided to play a game where you pick a player and every time they get a possession, you have a sip of wine. And I think I picked Parker. I had Papley and Parker, and then Papley kicked some goals, and Parker did quite well.
Yep.
So the last quarter is a bit of a blur for me.
Yep. Well, Franklin banged one home from 70 metres out with about 5 minutes left. That put the Swans up by 16 points. But the Swans actually led by 33 points early in the last quarter. And the Giants came back. They kicked 4 in a row. And they really looked like they were going to run over the top of the Swans, a bit like Melbourne. But the Swans ended up hanging on for a really good, tough-fought win. Callum Mills, he won the Brett Kirk medal. He was voted best on ground, despite Callum Sinclair having an absolute monster of a game. 3 goals, 45 hit-outs, 15 disposals, 4 score involvements, and 6 clearances. He was enormous. He absolutely towed up Rob. I can't remember. I think Patton. Rob. Yeah, good old getting these names wrong again. I've got them written down somewhere.
So Patton played. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's no Patton, there's no Mills. I mean, Swans seem to have a bit of an issue with, I think it's been talked about on the number of Facebook pages about the Swans trying to finish their last quarters. So hopefully we have a good 4-quarter effort and...
Yeah. Well, there is similarities between Giants and Melbourne game from last weekend. And that was Reid and Malikan. They both went down. So we're down to 2 players on the bench. But Reid and Malikan, obviously, they went down with, I think, only about 3 or 4 minutes left in the match. At literally like the same time and almost the same contest. So it was quite amazing and really bizarre, actually, watching on TV. Where's Reid? Where's Malikan? They're both hobbling off the bench.
Yeah, that's where it really all started.
Yeah, we're looking okay up until that point, and after then it was like, damn it. But look, Swans head-to-head, they lead it, 10-4.
You wouldn't know about that from the AFL app today when
No.
the Giants overrun the Swans. Yeah, AFL app, you forgot to mention in 2016 the Swans actually made the grand final.
Yep.
And the Giants didn't. So it was all about how the great Giants beat their younger sibling, older sibling, older sibling but
Yes, the big brother getting beaten by the little brother rolling up. But look, it's been 2 really good games the last couple of times. Before that, obviously, the Giants, they won 3 in a row. And they kind of gave the Swans a bit of a lesson each time.
They did.
But it's been a bit weird because the Giants back then, they had arguably the best list in the AFL for about 2 years. And now both Swans and Giants are in a little bit of transition. So it's quite interesting. It'll be nice to see the Swans obviously get up again.
Oh, definitely. We've got Stevie J in our corner now, so hopefully he'll give us some hints and tips. And the Swans... I mean, this game, both teams have everything to play for. I mean, top 4 is riding on the line. So no matter who's injured, still the best team has to win on the day. So
Yes, true. So a Giants win wraps up top 4 for them. They're just about guaranteed. Well, not quite. They have to rely on Hawthorn still losing a match and Collingwood still losing a match. But the ladder is obviously Richmond first, West Coast second, Collingwood third, Hawthorn fourth, Giants fifth, Swans sixth.
And the Giants play Melbourne next week after us. So
in Melbourne too.
So that'll be an interesting match. I think Melbourne will be out for blood. So
yeah, they played the Bloods and all their blood was spilt. So they got to go and pick it up and play again.
Oh, jeez.
Terrible pun. I am no good with jokes whatsoever.
Oh, honey.
Now, both Sydney teams, they're 2-2 at Sydney Showgrounds, Spotless. So it's going to be an interesting match. Last time they played there, the Swans won. That was the infamous bend it like Buddy.
Yes.
That was an amazing goal from the sidelines. And look, Franklin's been the difference the last 2 times they've played.
He's a machine. I mean, he can't kick it from 30 out in front, but give him a wide angle sitting on the boundary line and he'll slot it every time.
Basically, Rose Z on the left side of the field, he'll still kick a goal.
Exactly. So he looked pretty good last week in the Collingwood game. We know he's been injured and he's had that dodgy heel, and hopefully he comes out and plays his best. Him and Phil Davis will always be a good matchup. Davis always seems to have him shut down for at least 2 quarters, and then Franklin just explodes and kicks a couple of goals. So hopefully Franklin does his best.
Yeah, no, agreed. And hopefully this time Franklin will actually have his number from the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. Be good, though, to have some support as well, because we don't want to just rely on Franklin. So hopefully, like we did at the Melbourne game, we actually have McCartan, Heaney, Ronk, Papley.
Yep.
I had to think of our
Hayward also.
Hayward.
And Florent was one of the most impressive players as well that game. He took a couple of really good contested marks, and he actually took one on Max Gawn.
Oh, did he? That's right, he did too.
Yeah. And so did the 18-year-old Tom McCartan, who we went to the same function.
Fan Day.
Swans Fan Day, and we're like, who the hell is this? Is that
We thought it was Stoddart.
And it come over. Oh no, it's Tom McCartan.
He was so lovely. He shook our hands, and he had like 2 people lining up to see him, and then I'm like, oh, that was McCartan.
It was McCartan, and he had a bit of a laugh when I asked him if he's the better McCartan.
Well, he probably knows he's after the Collingwood game. So we showed against Melbourne what we can actually do when you kick it to a forward on a lead instead of just bombing it and hoping. So
well, we're going to have to do a lot of that against the Giants. I had a bit of a look over the stats, and the Giants edged the Swans in a few categories, but there were some pretty interesting ones. So I guess the Swans, they have Franklin who is third in the Coleman medal race with 52 goals. Jeremy Cameron was right up there at one point, but he's now trailing back in ninth place with 41 goals.
Well, that's what a suspension will do to you.
Yep. Now, that's definitely the case. And the Swans and Giants, they're not too far apart on goals, but the Giants are the most inaccurate team in the league.
Really?
They are ranked first for behinds.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible, actually. And the Swans are the most accurate team in the league. They're first for behinds. If you could believe it.
Because we don't have many shots on goal because we have no forwards.
So it was, I'm looking at that, it was absolutely stunning. The Swans, they averaged 9.1 behinds per game.
Yeah, because we have 10 shots at goal.
10 shots at goal, and they're all from Franklin. And the Giants, they averaged 13.5. So it's going to be an interesting game. The Giants are one of the, I guess, most scoring teams, or at least they have the most shots on goal. AFL doesn't really provide a lot of stats about that on the site, but they do get a lot of inside 50s. They're top 8 for inside 50s, and I think they're like top 4 or 5 for shots per inside 50s.
That's the problem, though, when you have all those inside 50s and you might score 13, average of 13 behinds a game.
Yeah.
But the main thing is you're getting those inside 50s, and we all know the Swans have struggled with that. So
yeah,
we don't want, suddenly the Giants to turn around and have suddenly great goal kicking, and those 13 average of 13 behinds could be 13 goals. And
exactly.
We've been very lucky, and especially last week, that Melbourne really could have. They kicked 0.6 in the first quarter. I mean, they could have really blown us out of the water after 10 minutes. So,
well, they kind of did what we did last year. We kicked 2-14 about a third of the way through the second quarter.
Oh, that game was terrible.
Oh, it was a terrible game. And I remember us were freezing on the sidelines when we kicked the 14th behind. I think I just laughed hysterically for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and the Bronx cheer when we actually got a goal.
And when Rowan marked, I think his third or fourth inside 50 mark, and then he just handballed it off to someone else, and it was just like, But that's last year, so look, the Swans are going to have to do a bit different this week to stop so many inside 50s. They got smashed against Melbourne, 60-43, and the Giants actually do pretty well in that figure, so Sydney, I think, are bottom 4 for inside 50s, so they need to improve that.
Just curious, though, the inside 50 count, I think we were leading at three-quarter time, so I think we just lost our legs in that last quarter. So I think if we had a strong team and not so many, not two down, then maybe that inside 50 count might have been a bit different.
I agree, 100% agree. I think if we weren't down 2 rotations since really the end of the first quarter, that could have been a different tale. We might have even gone on to win by an even bigger margin. But look, our average winning margin against Melbourne over the last while now at the MCG is about 35 points. So that was Melbourne's closest game for, I think 2011, 2012. So for a very long time. So another couple of stats. You got Giants. They average 3.7 contested possessions more. So both teams are pretty close with that. The Swans average almost 3 more contested marks per game. Now, the Swans are the 4th best contested marking side in the league, so they've got a couple more. And they've both got the same number of marks inside 50, so they both get it in there and they both mark it. But the Giants are the top-ranked team in the league for clearances, total clearances. I think they're about 4th or 5th for centre clearances, but 1st for stoppage clearance. So if it's around the ground, they have been devastating. They are by far and away the best team in the league for that. Melbourne was up until last week, but now it's the Giants. They absolutely killed it on the weekend. They're 65 ahead of the Swans.
Makes sense with our midfield being so down. With the injuries to Kennedy, Hanbury and Jack, and now you look at the Giants midfield. I think, is Scully injured at the moment, Joss?
Yeah, Scully's, I believe, gone for the season. They do have a couple of other big names out as well. So the Swans do have a chance. So certainly in the midfield matchup. I'm just pulling up the team sheet right now. So they have brought in Harry Perriman, Jeremy Finlayson and Daniel Lloyd, and out goes Sam Reid, Heath Shaw, which is a massive loss for them, and Josh Kelly.
Oh, wow.
That is 2 massive outs for them. That is as big as it gets for the Giants. They are 2 of the basically top 6 players. Obviously, we know about the Swans outs, but that's pretty big. But they've still got a lot of depth in their midfield.
They do, but you never write the Swans off. So
No, it seems like it's the AFL and the AFL media and the general media's favourite pastime, write the Swans off.
exactly.
Now, on to matchups. So we've got 4 matchups here. Now, the first one we've got is Aaliyah against Harry Himmelberg.
Don't know a lot about Himmelberg, so go Aaliyah.
Yeah, look, Himmelberg's he's a bit like Mason Wood. He can be quite quick and athletic, and he's quite good at doubling back, and he's a pretty reasonable goal kicker as well.
Well, we saw how Mason Wood destroyed us in the North Melbourne game.
Yes, early in the season. Thank you for bringing that up. I probably shouldn't have mentioned his name. But he's a threat. Himmelberg, not quite related to the
blimp.
The blimp. Himmelberg, Hindenburg, that's who I was after. But he's a decent option. He's a bit better than Xavier Richards. So he's
don't knock the Zave.
Not knocking the Zave, but he's a decent forward. So he's a good sort of third tall for them. Not quite Gunston level, but a good option.
Yeah.
I would say Ali is probably going to intercept as much as he can and get in front of Cameron.
Exactly.
We are 100% screwed if him or Rampy are injured at any point. We don't even have anyone. There is literally no one on the field to go back in defence.
Stop saying that, because if you keep saying it, it's actually going to happen.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
You're welcome, hon.
So Dane Rampy as well. He's facing Jeremy Cameron.
Well, Cameron's got off the lead a few times, so...
Yeah, he has, and last time he was making Rampy look a bit second-rate. Certainly if we go back to the 2016 finals.
Yes, I remember that, and he totally destroyed us in the space of a couple of minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes, he turned on his head.
Rampy's had some trouble recently with his forwards. He always gets paid the free kick against him for holding.
Do you think that might have something to do with Coffeegate?
Possibly.
Clarko's whinge?
Well, yeah, it just seems like yeah.
Well, people have been saying that Longmire needs to go and have a whinge as well.
Oh, what, coffee gate? Tea gate?
Tea gate, yeah.
Hot chocolate gate,
Hot chocolate gate. What, over Aaliyah? Whinge gate.
Whinge gate, I mean, what's it? Longmire has a coffee and then everyone else has a coffee. Why don't they just all have a group of coffees? Seriously.
Yeah.
It's like complaining to the high school principal.
Yeah, except this time he's in someone's pocket. Every time Clarkson has a whinge, he responds.
Yeah, well, karma works in beautiful ways, Clarko.
So do you reckon Rampy can get the job done this time?
I hope he can.
No, same here. We need him to. It's, I'd say, crucial, because otherwise they don't really have too many other scoring options.
No, they don't, but... you find a way to score, so you need to shut down Jeremy Cameron and...
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Lance Franklin, are we going to get the Jekyll or the Hyde? The Jekyll being the good one and the Hyde being the guy who plodded around about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I guess Michael Hurley.
Yeah.
Well, this is a big game for the Swans, and usually when we have a big game, Buddy kind of...
He lifts, yeah.
He lifts, so... I love Buddy. I'm a Buddy lover, so...
We have a dog named Buddy as well.
So I'm going to say that Buddy will lift. I do say that Phil Davis will have his measure at some point, but then Franklin will just explode.
Yep.
And I think Longmire... I think last week when they played him up the ground, I mean, the guy's an excellent field kick, so we've got to utilise that. I mean, and utilise him in the goal square. Don't just bomb it to him. We know the guy can't take an overhead mark. And if he does, he usually has one or two juggles. So
yeah,
kick it to him on advantage. Or if he's being double teamed, where's that free player? Like, he's a good footballer and he's a good kick for goal. So, kick it to his advantage. Don't just kick it and hope he takes a screamer.
Yeah, and bomb it on his head. He's not. I don't really think he's taken a screamer at all in his career. He doesn't get off the ground.
No.
He's not the kind of player at 196 to chuck in the ruck, because I think he'd lose every ruck contest.
Yeah, but he's got value elsewhere, and if...
Yeah, absolutely agree. And look, he definitely needs to bring his A game. Obviously, it's going to depend on his foot and whether or not he can run around.
Exactly.
Now, the next one we've got is Will Hayward against Adam Kennedy. Now, Kennedy is an important player on that back line. Will Hayward's been playing a few different roles. He's been up and down in the last couple of weeks. But this is a pretty big game for him. He needs to be able to shut him down.
Yeah, Will, like the young boys, looks like he needs a bit of a break, to be honest. I mean, he kicked the goal last week against Melbourne, and I remember we were at the game, and I was like, what are you doing? Why is he just kicking it in the air? And it bounced through for a goal, so hopefully he shows us what he can do. He's been a bit down on his goal kicking the last couple of weeks, but then the forward delivery hasn't been exactly, superb, so...
And the Swans have managed to win despite only kicking 70 points 2 games in a row.
Yeah, but there's managed to win, and you want them to, win well.
Yeah.
You just don't want to keep managing to win the next few games. I mean, of course a win is awesome, but, you want to have a cohesive forward line. But I think that's probably something to do with the midfield as well. I mean, you have to have cohesive forward, mid and back. You just can't have a cohesive defence. I mean, it's great to have a cohesive defence, but you've got to, get the ball to the mids, and then we saw last week, if they can actually kick the ball to the forwards, then, I've got a good chance of scoring. So hopefully Will steps up.
Yeah, look, it's something that, on that, and it's a really good point to make, actually, because a lot of people criticised... You're welcome. A lot of people criticised Dan Hanbury, and they said that maybe he's... we're talking not only Swans fans, but a lot of people in media said that he's past it, his body's breaking down, it's letting him down, he's no longer fast, etc., and so forth. He was never a fast player. Never, ever a fast player. He's never even an elite user of the ball. But what he has been able to do is he's got he has elite fitness, and he has been able to get from contest to contest to contest, and he's just been able to burn his opponent because his opponent just doesn't have the same level of fitness. And what he did when he came back on Sunday was exactly that. And his ability to just keep the ball moving and keep the ball moving ensured that the Swans could actually move the ball from defence to the midfield to attack. And they did that in the second, third quarter brilliantly.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like the media just kind of finds a player and think, oh, they're down, they're out, and now they're being traded to St Kilda. So...
St Kilda's after literally everyone, every man and their dog, even the guys who, unfortunately, they've kind of passed on football and they're like in their 50s and 60s. I hear St Kilda's still into them.
Hey, Plugger might come back to St Kilda.
Barry Hall, you never know.
Barry
Hall's a free agent, got fired from Fox Sports for making lewd comments.
Yes, well, let's not discuss that because as a midwife, that was very disgusting.
Yes, it was.
Anyway,
very
no, I love Hanbury, and I think he's a great player, and he said on his interview that he's only trained for 5 minutes, and I think as outside supporters we expect our Swans players to be up and ready every game week, and we actually don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, there's a guy who's hardly trained and is expected to play at an elite level, and it's a bit sad really that if he couldn't train, then why was he playing? But then maybe they didn't have any other options. So, I saw some flashes of the old Hanbury, and we'll see how he goes this week.
So, I think people are probably a bit fast to jump on him. Oh, he's had a bad game. I mean, despite the fact he's missed 4 or 5 in a row. Oh, he's got 26 disposals, but he missed kicks. Oh, he's terrible. He's not elite anymore. He hasn't had a preseason for 2 years.
Exactly. I mean... I was one of those people myself after the loss to Essendon. Oh, probably the Suns, actually. I, was all over Facebook going, you know what? Shut up shop. Play the kids. Let's just give up on the season. And I fully admit that. Yeah, same. I'd say the same. I was saying, let's get Nick Blakey and let's not quite tank it, but play the kids. Let's play the kids, happen. I mean... And now, look, we've won the last 2 games, which, to be honest, I didn't think we were going to win.
And we're still playing the kids.
We were $3 against Melbourne, and yes, I put a sneaky $50 bet on us because the odds were awesome, and thank you, Sydney. But they've proven the last 2 weeks that maybe I should have eaten my words. But there's still, 2 hard games to go, and I think it was one of the Fox footy commentators who actually just said a smart comment that even though we have these tough next 2 games, I mean, if we win them, we're actually the form team coming into the finals, ironically.
I think he listens to the SwansCast because I said that a week ago.
He stole, was it Wayne Carey or Jason Dunstall?
Yeah, they stole
your
my
thunder.
line. They stole my line because I said that if we win our next 3, we will be the form team in the league.
Okay, well, there you go. Justin, you've now got a job at Fox Footy. But like I said,
They're short on material, dear.
We'll see how we go. A week's a long time in football. So the Swans were riding high of the emotion of the last 2 weeks, especially with AJ and the highs and the lows. So it'll be interesting to see if they can back it up this week. I mean, last week was a very physical, tiring game. And, so fingers crossed we do it again. It's the Swans and...
Oh, absolutely. Look, I went and had a look at the list of players that we haven't played compared to the ones we've played. John Longmire said in his press conference for the Derby, I think yesterday it was, that the Swans had played 36 players over the course of the season.
Oh, that's good.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. I went back and had a look. The only players that we hadn't played, I think, have been missing so long through injury, or the rookies who haven't even debuted yet. And they're still injured, so they're not even going to get a debut because they're injured.
Look, regardless of what happens this season, I mean, I think this season we've been quite dogged by injuries and the whole Tippett, Naismith, Mills.
Yeah, Reid, Melican,
Johnson at the start throughout the year, and whatever happens this year, we've done amazingly well.
Yeah, we've done pretty well,
and our future's looking very promising. So hopefully next year we just don't get injured and find a good doctor.
Yeah, but honey, let's take it 1 week at a time. Let's not look too far ahead. Yeah, we've still got the Giants.
Exactly. So anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
We're coming up to finals footy, and I know everyone thinks that the Premiership Cup is Richmond's, but this is their premiership to lose. Yep. So anyway, back to the Swans.
Back to the Swans. Yeah, let's look at a couple of key points about the match. So look, the Giants, they're definitely going to stack up on Franklin. There is absolutely no question about that.
Well, of course they would.
Yep. So this is, I think it's really important that the Swans, they lower their eyes when they're going inside 50 or even inside 60 metres and look for other targets.
Definitely. Well, we spoke about that.
Yeah, look, I thought they did that really well against the Demons until Franklin basically started calling for the ball literally everywhere on the field. He was even in the back 50 at one point calling for the ball.
Oh, well.
I think he might have gone for goal from about 100 metres out.
Who cares? I mean, the guy kicked 2 goals for. He had 6 scoring shots. I mean, the guy's getting the ball. That's the main thing.
Yeah, he had a massive, massive second half. He was definitely one of our best players.
If he kicked all 4 of those behinds as a goal, then we're laughing.
Oh, yeah, we would have won that by 7-8 goals in the end. Obviously, the Giants, they are the number 1 clearance team in the league, so the Swans really have to try to break even, just like they did against the Demons. Mm. Obviously, Sinclair got beaten last week, and he's really been beaten the last 2 weeks against arguably the best 2 ruckmen in the league. But the Swans have done really well in clearances and contested possessions. They've really trailed by a small margin.
Sinclair's done awesome considering, what he was like when we got him.
Yeah.
Even my mum called him a bit of a spud.
Yeah, he has done really well. Last time the Swans played the Giants, obviously earlier this year, round 3, Lob, got a bit of a beating from Sinclair, and it was arguably Sinclair's best career game. So, I mean, Sinclair's in for another one. He could do really well again. And obviously, look, Lob, again, on him. He was massive last week, so it's incumbent on Sinclair to make sure he doesn't get off the chain again. But I think maybe Jacobs had checked out for the season.
Yeah, well...
He was playing like he checked out for the season. He wasn't playing very well, so look, Jacobs had one of those stinkers. Now, on to predictions. Mm-hmm. So, I have one. It is Franklin to kick 5 goals.
Ooh, that's a bit of a...
Now, this is the Jekyll and Hyde argument. If we get Hyde, he might not even have 5 possessions.
He kick 5 points.
He might not even have 5 possessions in the first half. But if we get Jekyll, I reckon he might even be up for 5 goals in the first half. So it really depends on the Franklin we get. And that depends on his foot, obviously. And Penny?
Mine is Essendon will beat Richmond. So I'm actually going to this game tomorrow night. And Richmond looks like they've played it safe with, with Asprey, Cochin and Presti are out. So I think they're playing it safe. And Essendon have a lot to play for. So...
Yeah, there's still a sneaky chance of finals. It's out of their hands. They really need results to go their way. I think they need teams above them to just keep losing.
Exactly.
Geelong, I think they need to lose both of their matches. Port Adelaide, I think, need to lose both of their matches for Essendon to slip in. And North Melbourne's also. I mean, they basically blew their chances, but they are a mathematical chance as well. So
exactly. So you never know. I mean, Richmond they might go all out, but hopefully Essendon win, and hopefully they win for you, Steph. And if not, we'll be getting drunk at the game.
Yep. Well, like I said last week, the equation was 3 games, 3 wins, top 4. Obviously now the equation is 2 games, 2 wins, top 4. Yep. That is it. That is it for the Swans. It's all in their hands. Now for the weekend forecast, Penny, you have a sure thing.
Well, Port Adelaide and Melbourne fans are in for a horror show. At one point during these 2 games, they are probably going to shit themselves and think, oh my God. So it'll be a nervous wait for these 2 clubs. I mean, their destiny was in their hands, except for the whole point gate.
Yeah.
Against Adelaide, and Melbourne's last quarter gate against the Swans. So
yeah. Look, Melbourne, Jaden Hunt and Jesse Hogan are out.
Oh, Hogan.
Yeah. So they've brought in Wiedemann, obviously, and Jake Melksham. And Michael Hibbard, and Dean Ken as well. So it looks like most likely Wiedemann, and if Jake Melksham is fit, looks like those 2 are the ins. Eagles into their extended squad have added basically newbies. Matthew Allen and Francis Watson could potentially debut, as well as Jackson Nelson and Jake Waterman.
He's an old player, isn't he?
I have absolutely no idea who any of them are.
Okay.
Port Adelaide are in for a horror show, but stunningly, I couldn't even believe this. Paddy Ryder has, they were saying Paddy Ryder's going to be fit for the end of this year, but he's going to play. Paddy Ryder's not even excluded. So, they're playing him. He's injured. He's clearly injured. They're going to play him. So, good luck to them. You're right, Penny. They could both be in for a horror show at some point, and I reckon Melbourne might throw their cheese platters out when they cross over the Nullarbor. Just throw them out the car window on the way back.
It's ironic, and Melbourne are playing West Coast, and West Coast were the team to knock Melbourne out of the finals. So.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Now, my most at stake is Swans' undersized defence cops another injury. They are basically teetering on the edge. You'd never say wish anything upon anyone, and I honestly do not wish anything upon them. But if you look back in the reserves, there are no options short of playing McCartan at centre half back. That's it. That is the only choice. He's the only other tall player. They might bring Darcy Cameron in to put Sinclair at back line, but honestly, I hope that never happens. Doomsday scenario, Penny.
Oh, mine is that St Kilda are going to beat Hawthorn, which is going to result in Coffeegate Part 2. Also, Hawthorn are going to come out firing the following week and smash us. So,
yes, if St Kilda do win, which is about as unlikely as it gets, that's going to obviously do Richo a world of good with his coaching gig. And that is pretty much going to sink Hawthorn's chances of a top 4 finish.
Yes. And
given, obviously, results. Then it becomes result-oriented.
The last thing we want to play is Hawthorn out for blood.
Yes, especially once Clarko's had another whinge. Mm. So, Penny, do you think the Swans will win on the weekend? And how much by?
I hope so. I hope we win, let's say, 17.
17 goals or points?
Points!
17 goals would be great. Now, I'm saying the Swans are going to win as well. I am going to go a little bit more. I'm going to go 21 points.
Oh, you're just copying me.
No. Look, GWS, they are the form team in the competition. They won 9 from 10. But they haven't really looked convincing in any win. They've just found a way to win. Like the old Swans Hawthorn days years ago, like 6 years ago. They just kept grinding out wins. But I think the Swans are going to have their measure this week.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Penny, thank you so much for joining me on this SwansCast Extra episode. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, hon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Love you, sweetie.
Yeah, love you too. As always, guys, we are on social media, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, the tag The Swans Blog. You can always get in touch with us during the week with the hashtags SwansCast and SwansCast Extra. Until next time, go Swans.